Coming to you from Studio HQ, you're tuning in to Think Indie Extra. Coming to you from Comic Crusaders, I am Dodgy in the mix up with my amazing guest, Lesly Julien. Welcome, Lesly.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Hey, everybody.
And before we jump in, just got to shout out our sponsors. And are you an aspiring comic creator but don't have the tools? Look no further than Thamon Comic Creations. There are sessions for different ages and different levels of experience. If location is an issue, that is not an issue, as classes can be held digitally via Zoom. Jump on to thamoncomiccreations.com. And October 1st is Bindy Comics Day. Reach out to your local store. Just like our guest here today, reach out to your local comic book store, make it an event, celebrate local creators. It's Artist Alley in your local comic book store. Julien, welcome. And let me just ask you real quick, obviously this is your second book you've created, but tell us a bit about your journey. Where did comics come into your life?
So I didn't really grow up reading comics just because my parents all said they're too expensive. But around college, I just kind of happened to stumble into a shop that's literally right across the street from the university I was going to. And at the time, Civil War was going on. And so I kind of got into some Civil War books, and I fell into the Runaways. And I was always big into Ninja Turtles. So that was actually another pull. I think IDW was just starting their run too, so I was hopping on that. And so kind of that mix of things had kind of slowly got me interested more into comics than just the pop culture stuff. So I was getting, like I said, big into Runaways, and then just the craziness of Civil War. I'd never really read any event comics. I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? And then I kind of stumbled into stuff like Why the Last Man, and I was Brian gave on. And so I was reading comics for a while after that, but I still hadn't ventured into writing. But my girlfriend, wife now, was kind of doing some short story writing, and I kind of jumped along with her. I had always written as a kid, but I kind of took a while off and decided, hey, I just like writing. Let me try doing this again. And so we were writing for a while, having fun, and she saw how many comics I was writing. I said, why don't you try writing comic? I was like, I don't know how. And then so I said, hey, how do you write comics? And so I kind of hopped online and slowly started figuring things out. I read some Scout McCloud books and all the other resources that are available at the time. And I just kind of slowly worked my way from there. I started writing 1-pagers, and then a couple like 4-page comics and 8-page, and so on and so forth, into kind of how we are now with my second full-length book.
Yeah, and you mentioned before you jumped onto Ninja Turtles, but were you watching the cartoons when you were young, or you're a bit too young?
Totally. I was definitely watching the cartoons. I was born in '86, so I think I might have seen the reruns. But yeah, I was definitely obsessed. That's really where I first got my obsession, was the cartoons and the first movie. I think that was the first movie I saw as a kid. So,
oh wow,
yeah.
Oh, nice. And So you mentioned before that your girlfriend, now wife, is a writer. What part of it wasn't that like you were right, that you were an aspiring writer but didn't think about writing comic books? How did that feel when that thought got triggered, and what did your research look like?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. There's so many things in life that just kind of give you that light bulb, like what, this is a thing, like reading comics, is something I said I'd done for a while, but it didn't until that conversation. It never struck my mind that, I guess that is something that could be feasible for me to even attempt. And then so it was an inspiring moment because, like I said, I was reading a lot of Brian K. Vaughan, and his work, I would say, really inspired me to want to write my own comic stories. So I had written something. It was about a vampire. It was just random short story I did. And that was the first thing I adapted into a comic. It's about this vampire, it's about this guy who is trigger warning, suicidal, and basically he has an overzealous EMT revive him, and he doesn't know at the time, but this guy is a vampire, and he finds out like I just tried to kill myself, and this guy just saved my life, and kind of struggling with that. So it was just kind of fun to explore. Like, I mean, obviously I'd written prose before, but figuring out, like panel layouts and page turns and things of that nature, like stuff that's very foreign when you just come from strictly writing prose and stuff. So like it was very at the time daunting, but it's really rewarding when you can put all that stuff down on page and see like your vision come to life with the help of one artist.
And what were some of the challenges? You mentioned before it was daunting, but what did the creative process look like in a nutshell?
Yeah, it was really intimidating, especially like when I had first started learning, just because, I mean, comics still is the Wild West. There's a lot of stuff out there, and at the same time, there isn't a lot. So like when you're first trying to start, you're just like, how the heck do I do this? Like there is no universal script format. So like I was like, struggling like which one do I adopt, so even just trying to figure out what kind of script template to use was really challenging initially. And then I just kind of had to get comfortable with like, hey, I mean, nothing's perfect, you just got to do it and don't kind of sweat the details too much. That was another thing, just like, hey, get things done versus trying to make an epic. That's something I learned very early on. And I had heard that advice early enough to luckily I never attempted it, but don't try to make your 100-page graphic novel epic for your first, comic project. Start small and build from there. So luckily I had heard that advice before I got too far.
Well, the same applies to filmmaking as well, because you hear a lot of filmmakers actually started in college writing short stories or short films. They wouldn't go out and make a Shakespearean play. They'll just do maybe like a 3 or 5 minute video. So I really like that concept you adopted, because you're right. You can't just go out and write a 150 chapter story. You've got to start small and work your way up. But how was it getting the pieces together? Because it's not just the writer. You've got to have an artist. You've got to have a letterer and colorist. So what are your steps when you're actually putting this to your artist? What are some of your tools?
So I would say back then anyway, I had kind of struggled again. It's like, what do you do? Like, how do you find an artist even? And I was luckily able to kind of Google forums like Pencil Jack and Digital Webbing. I think I'd found one of my first artist collaborators on there. And I mean, at the time, initially, I had no clue what I was doing. My first scripts I was definitely a lot more heavy-handed than I am now in terms of like giving like basically no flexibility for artists. I think that's something a lot of beginning writers learn, is that it's a collaboration. If you're just pointing at your artist and telling them what to do, you're really not going to have your best comic work. Comics at its best is always a collaborative process. And like when an artist can come back and say like, hey, maybe what do you think about this? Like just to get that input is invaluable. So I mean, now that's something that comes like second nature. But back then, that's something I definitely had to figure out the hard way.
Yeah. And what were some of the roadblocks you got? Because you said you had to learn the hard way. What were some things that you took away and go, oh, maybe I should have tried this differently? Could you name any? Yeah.
So again, like that first vampire comic, that was one of the first things I did. It was giving very specific panel layouts and stuff. And at the time I was really into web comics. So I gave this guy like this really long vertical comic. And then I was like, later on kind of thinking about print. It's like, oh crap, this is not going to work for print at all. So those kind of things you have to think about is formatting, obviously, if you're going to want something printed. Also a communication style. Like I think it's very important to have someone that you are comfortable making changes if they're necessary. I mean, you don't want to go crazy and just either berate the artist or just kind of like, finding reasons to nitpick. But I think you do have to be comfortable with like, hey, like either like, oh, you missed a hand here or something like that. Like, your artist is gonna want that feedback. So I think that's something I had to slowly learn, is being upfront with any constructive criticism I had with some art or something like that.
Yes. And I think you're absolutely right, because I have an artist myself that I have to draw him stuff, like just draw him like simple layouts and say, can you please make this?
Right.
And there are times where you say, yeah, I'll accept that. And then other times it's like, no, sorry, this has to be, because you got to think about it, you are the writer, you're the creator, you're the brains behind it. You need to have that way of feeding that back, but in a respectful manner.
Yeah.
Have there been times where you like thought about it and thought, maybe I should have worded this differently?
I think luckily I almost have a gift for diplomacy, so I think for the most part that hasn't been an issue. I can sometimes maybe overthink things, so maybe it might take me too long to come up with that the right way to phrase it. But I would say in general that hasn't been too much of an issue.
Oh, that's good. So
Yeah.
I guess the thing is with this show, Julian, we really sorry, Leslie, that we really like to want people to listen and learn.
Yeah.
So that's the thing about the show. So I think that's great. And how long would it take you to give this feedback back to your artist?
So I'm probably online too much, so I try. Honestly, I try within this first like 24 hours to get them back, if not sooner. Like I have all the notifications on my phone, so I get things like immediately. I'm like, okay, like I'm just usually on it immediately. Sometimes it might be a little slower because again I overthink things, but if I get like some art, like I'll probably like message someone back like within like 2-3 hours or something probably.
Yeah, that's good, because you don't want to reply straight away with some thing your message that you sent that you absolutely regret. So
yeah,
I think that's important.
I think one thing I have learned is, although I try to be quick, you definitely want to take the time to study. I mean, obviously it seems obvious, but really study that art and make sure you're not missing anything obvious. Like you said, like when there's some kind of continuity error or something like that, like just making sure that you're not missing things so that you have to go back and correct it, like when you're at the letter stage or coloring stage, like where you're having to make a necessary revision. So that's really something to be mindful of.
Yes. And you mentioned before that you had your first book published. How did that feel when you finally got that completed?
Well, not quite published, but kickstarted last year. I had a book called Savage Wizard, which was really successful, and I was just kind of blown away by the response that I got from interviewing and even from just like how successful the campaign itself was. I was just blown away that everyone loved the artist Brian Flint's art so much. He is an incredible artist, and I was really glad to be able to partner with him. And it was just incredible. We're looking forward to fulfilling orders from that book really soon.
And sorry, what is the name of the book, Leslie?
So it's a Savage Wizard. It's a story about a barbarian who basically is forced to learn magic against his will in order to save the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Barbarians and magic. I think you got me right there.
Thank you.
And I mean, what sort of genre were really appealing to you? Like you mentioned before, you like TMNT, you like Runaways. Civil War was I'm a little bit envious because I wish I got into comics at that time, but I was there much earlier. But what sort of genre do you carry over to your creative process? What were some of the things you go, I'll take a bit of this, take a bit of that? Just tell us about your creative process and your journey.
So creatively, I mean, I definitely pull from everywhere. It's kind of a cliche to say, but life is definitely a big inspiration. But I think I definitely love to grab from action oriented titles for sure, or an influence stuff like again Ninja Turtles, but also stuff that can maybe skew a little bit darker, like Four Kids Walk Into a Bank. I like things that are kind of juxtaposed, like a couple genres. So even though it's like a darker title, there's like quite a bit of humor in there. That like dark humor is also something that I find myself kind of gravitating towards as well. So definitely action, and also just kind of darker or humor for sure gets me.
Fantastic. And also with this story, you mentioned, I think I just lost
sorry, my camera. Yeah, my camera just did something weird.
That's okay. So we'll get you back on shortly, but you can still hear me okay, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So with the story about the magical barbarian, where did that story come from? Like, was this something that you had sitting in your head for a long time, or I don't know? I just think it's just such a random story.
It is. It's really random. My camera doesn't want to work today, but at least my mic is.
Yeah.
So basically, how that came about was there's something at the time I think was called what was it called? It wasn't Inktober, but something similar for writers.
Okay.
I think it's like Pitchvember. So it was November, a couple years back. I think I heard about it like around 2019, and so it said I'm gonna come up with a pitch like basically every day. And so I was coming with a bunch of random pitches, really weird stuff, crazy stuff that I'll never use because some of them are really bad. But one of them happened to be like, what if our barbarian was forced to reclass as a wizard? It was a really simple pitch straight away, just like that. And then my friend Doug Wood, he approached me and he pretty much said, hey, you want to collab on something? And I never collaborated with another writer, so I was a little nervous, but I was like, why not? Let's give it a shot. And so we were kind of going back and forth, just looking for things to work on. And we were kind of hitting a wall, like we weren't really feeling either each other's ideas. And I just happened to throw that one out because I have like a Google Keep with all my ideas in them. And I mentioned that one to him. He's like, "Oh no, that's the one. Like we have to do something like that." I was like, "Okay, let's give it a shot." We expanded it from there, and definitely built it up a lot more. But yeah, that initial premise is just so fun. Like,
wow. And what sort of time frame did you have between the actual idea to the substance? How long did that take?
I think we wrote it pretty quick. Like, I mean, I probably came up with like that idea initially, like I want to say like 2 or 3 months before Doug approached me. I was just like, there's so many things like you want to work on, but never get the chance to. And so I loved having that excuse. For Doug is definitely a mover and a shaker, and he gets things done. And I can be sometimes more of a perfectionist. So it's kind of nice to have those two contrasting personalities. And he definitely helped push things forward. So I want to say we finished the script in maybe like 2 or 3 months, and obviously we had some revisions after, but we finished the script pretty quickly. And then after that, after a couple of rounds of revisions and some peer edits and stuff like that, then we started looking for an artist, and we're able to find Brian Flint, luckily enough, because his art is incredible.
Fantastic. And how did it feel collaborating? Like you've said before, that there was 2 different styles. You're more of a perfectionist, and I'm not sure about the personality of the other writer, but how did it feel to be outside your comfort zone in that aspect?
Initially, it was very intimidating because I was like, I don't know if we're gonna even be able to even get one page done, just because like I hadn't done this before. But we kind of figured out a process where I would write a couple pages, and then he would write a couple pages, and then we would basically come back together and look at them and kind of make sure that we kind of had a unified voice. And we kind of did that back and forth until the end of the book. And after like we finished all our edits and stuff, and again had some peers kind of review it for us, they asked like, so who wrote which parts? Like they couldn't tell. Like from what we heard from everyone, it felt like very seamlessly written. So like that's what you want to hear when you co-written something,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about your upcoming title. Hence why you're here. It's Headcases. So obviously you're the writer, and tell us about your artist. How did you meet Paulo? Paul and Paya.
Yeah, so and actually this is another co-written book, funny enough. I like co-writing books. Paulo, we had just me and AJ just stumbled upon his work on ArtStation, and we were just kind of gobsmacked. We just really liked what he had in his portfolio, and we reached out to him, and luckily he was available at the time. So just luck, honestly, just dumb luck.
Just like and what was it like pitching the idea? Was it did you have difficulty explaining or anything like that?
Yeah, we did, just because there's like a little bit of a language barrier, had to kind of break things down for him, but he did get it, the concept pretty quickly, and he was excited just by the kind of, we were going for like a really fast-paced action comic, and that's something that Paulo can do in spades, and so he was excited once he saw like what we were going for.
Yes, and then that's amazing about the world we live in. Because I have an artist from Argentina. Your artist is from Brazil. How amazing is it that the social media and the way we communicate nowadays, just you can get your art sent to you via email. Like, how good is that, and how important is that, do you think, to the industry?
It's incredible. I mean, yeah, whether they're international or even across the country, it is huge. To just be able to instantaneously communicate like that, if it's real time, or like if he's up at 8 and then shoot me stuff later at 8 p.m. It's just awesome to be able to, communicate so much faster and cheaper than people did 20, 30 years ago. It's definitely invaluable, I think, to honestly content creation these days.
Yes, because back in the day, everything was FedEx.
Yeah.
You had to wait.
These days,
now.
A $40, or more FedEx packages every time you want to see some art is, that would be real rough these days.
Yeah. No, but I mean, and then shout out your other creative team as well. So you've got a colorist. Tell us about your colorist.
Yes, Warnia Sahadewa. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. She is an absolutely amazing colorist. I had saw her work on the Man Cave book Dryfoot, and I was like, oh, please, if I ever get a chance, I would love to work with her. And luckily she was available and seemed like super interested. She liked the concept, and she's just like, yeah, I would love to work with you guys. And so luckily we were able to bring her on board, and she does some phenomenal color work.
And then I've seen a letter here that I'm familiar with, Micah Myers.
Yeah, Micah is everywhere. You could just rock into any shop and you'll probably find one of Micah's books on the shelves, honestly. And as busy as he is, luckily he was able to fit into his schedule, and his lettering is incredible and definitely helps bring the book a ton of professionalism. Yes,
no doubt. And so obviously you're like the chef and you have all these ingredients put together. What were some of the challenges that you faced in getting this collaborative team together?
Initially, especially in the artist department, that was an issue. I had, again, co-written this book with AJ. And after we had the script done, we're like, okay, let's go look for an artist. And I'm not sure if it was the timing, but we had looked for a couple people, and things had just fell through. Like someone had gotten busy, and so they had to back out of the project. And I think someone else had like an injury, unfortunately, and they had to step out. So actually the first like 2 artists we had lined up initially had to back out, and then we kept looking, and it actually took a while to find Paulo. And again, we were really grateful with it. But just actually putting together the art took a while, and that was an obstacle initially.
And now we talk about the actual story. So where did the story of Headcases come from? I mean, this is really it looks like a really freaky book. Where did the actual idea come from? Where did this trigger in that crazy mind of yours?
It's a weird story. So initially, AJ and I, we were going to do a fantasy book, but AJ was doing something kind of similar. He wanted to get away from fantasy. So we said, okay, let's kind of get something like a little more grounded, but only slightly, because the story is about two kids that steal a briefcase that happens to have a decapitated head in it. And really, it was kind of random. I think we just said, what if these kids steal something? And then we were kind of going back and forth, like, what could the thing be? And we decided on the head and kind of built a story around that random premise there. So things kind of escalate quickly after these kids steal the head. But yeah, we said, what's the weirdest thing we could put in there? And we decided on the head.
Yeah, that is pretty. That would be so freaky. I wouldn't know how I would react if I found something like that.
Yeah.
But in terms of the premise and the story, is this going to be an ongoing series, or is this going to be a one shot? What is the overall plans for this?
Yeah, so we're planning this as a mini series, a 4-issue mini series. So definitely hoping to continue the story in the next couple issues. But yeah, we have the first 2 issues written out, and we have the overall outline for where we want to take the series all mapped out.
And you wrote the first two stories. Were they written simultaneously, or did you take a break before writing the second one? How did that come about?
There was a break, definitely. We had this first one pinned, and then we kind of regrouped together and started on the second one. But yeah, we definitely didn't do them simultaneously. Unfortunately, I think we needed a little bit of a break before starting on the second one.
Yeah, no, that's so good. And in terms of the audience, what sort of audience do you think would be more inclined to read Headcases?
So yeah, this definitely is a bit more of a mature book, as you can tell, with the decapitated heads and whatnot. But definitely, it's meant for fans of kind of crime books. Again, like 4 Kids Walk Into a Bank. I believe AJ thought like people that are into Parker might be interested. So yeah, definitely fans who are people who are fans of like fast-paced stories, and again, like crime thrillers also would definitely want to check out Headcases.
Yes, no, I kind of imagine that, because it really is freaky, because I'm just looking at you as a person. You look so chilled and so and you've got that smile about you, and then you write a book like this. What part of you did you put into this book? Like, what part of Lesly Julien did you put into this?
It's interesting, not too much, but it's interesting you say that, because I'm definitely listened to like a lot of like true crime podcasts and stuff. So despite the the nice exterior, I definitely find myself gravitating towards somewhat morbid topics.
I'm nothing like that as well. I mean, I love, especially when it's true crime. I'm really drawn to that, because it's kind of like, wow, this happened in my neck of the woods, or this happened in my lifetime, and you hear about it on the news, but you don't really hear the gritty details. And I'm more inclined to that as well. So I totally get you. But you're gonna be broadcasting some Crowdfunder. Why did you choose this platform over like Kickstarter or Indiegogo?
So initially we actually were gonna head to Kickstarter, and a friend approached me and mentioned Crowdfunder to me. So Crowdfunder, if people don't know, is a brand new crowdfunding platform that is launching basically the same day as we launch a comic, June 21st. And pretty much me and AJ, we're just kind of thinking maybe we're going to give something new a shot. After Kickstarter kind of fumbled things up, their whole crypto rollout, we're just kind of hesitant to deal with Kickstarter. And not to say that there's anything wrong with Kickstarter, because we still back a ton of Kickstarter books, but we were like, hey, basically more variety, more choice, more options is always a good thing. So let's roll the dice on this new platform. And basically Crowdfunder is an offshoot of a platform called Fundraiser, which is more like a GoFundMe type thing. And they want to branch out and basically create a platform that was more creative friendly. So like, for comic creators or for filmmakers and people of that nature versus kind of shoving them in a GoFundMe type space. So this is their kind of big debut, and we're hoping that people give this new platform a shot, and hopefully we'll be able to raise what we're trying to raise in order to get this book funded. But we love the Crowdfunder staff. They're like a small company and just super upfront and earnest, and we're just interested to see where things are going to go with them.
Yeah, because I've heard a bit about the Kickstarter with going the crypto scope, but to be honest, I don't know a lot about that. But what part of that was a deflection for you, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so mostly I would say how they have yet to really explain its usefulness. It's just a lot of kind of nebulous corporate speak kind of turned me off at the time.
Yeah,
and again, it's not to say that I'm totally shutting the door on potentially doing future projects with Kickstarter, but it just kind of gave me pause. And so, like I said, if there's other avenues I could use to at least feel them out while Kickstarter's figuring out their stuff, and I was like, hey, so be it. Why not? Then now is a good time to take that chance, take that leap.
Yeah, I'm actually intrigued. I might have to check out more projects on Crowdfunder as well. But I mean, what are you most excited for about this new book? You've got a new platform, you've got a new book coming out. What are some of the things that are really driving you in your enthusiasm about this? Like,
I'm just super excited to see what people think of this. Yeah, just this bizarre and kind of macabre story. Well, not entirely macabre, but it's just like, it's dark, but there's some humor there. I just really want to see what people think. We've got some early reactions from friends, and they're just like, oh my gosh, this story's nuts, and we love it. So I'm definitely interested to kind of get a wider reaction from folks. I just am interested to see if I can kind of find an audience that can appreciate what we're doing with this. I think Paolo's art is amazing, and Warren's as well. And I want to see their artwork shine and be appreciated. And I would hope that it will be once we get this book out there.
Yes. And look, I'm sorry, I didn't really shout out your co-writer, AJ or Mason. Where did the relationship stem, and how's the relationship going with Mr. Mason?
AJ's a great guy. He I want to say I honestly can't remember how we first encountered each other, but I think he just kind of knew me from like somewhat similar creative circles online on Twitter. And so he just approached me kind of like Doug did and said, hey, do you want to try to write something together? And again, I was like, sure, I'll give it a shot. It's funny, it wasn't too long after Savage Wizard. I think it was only like a month or two after. So I had both these stories that were kind of going back and forth in the production cycle. So it was really kind of funny as they were kind of almost like a horse race going back and forth in completion. And now here we are a year later with Headcases.
And is your collaboration mainly on social, or do you guys meet in person?
No, it's all social. Wow. We use we'll use like a Google Chat a lot, or we'll hit each other up on like Twitter DMs. Only more recently, we've actually been better about video chatting, which is actually saves a lot more time. I don't know why I hadn't thought about it sooner, but yeah, that saves us so much more time. Just honestly, just talking things out, and we'll get into like Google Docs and kind of write down notes for direction of things that we're thinking on. So that's how we mainly collaborate. Is definitely online.
Oh, that's great. And whereabouts are you both located?
I have bounced around since me and AJ first collab. I was when we had first started talking, I was in Omaha, Nebraska at the time. Now I'm in San Antonio, and AJ, he is in Rhode Island currently.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
yes.
So yeah, we are definitely pretty far from each other.
Yeah, and the time difference, I think, what was it, 1 to 2 hours?
Yeah. At the moment. So it's not the worst in the world, but yeah, there's a little bit of a time difference there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
AJ's a great guy, and he has a graphic novel coming out with the IDW, I want to say in 2024. So he is definitely a rising star to watch.
yes, definitely. And I mean, so besides Headcases, are there any other projects in the future for you?
I have some anthology stuff that's coming out soon. Big Hype Volume 2, which is kind of like a manga inspired, a Western manga inspired anthology, is going to be launching on Kickstarter, I believe at the end of the month. And also, there was an anthology I was a part of called Off Into the Sunset, which just fulfilled digitally, and hopefully physical copies should be coming out soon, I believe, for that one, maybe in the next month or so. Other than that, I don't have too much else going on. There's some stuff that's percolating, but for now, that's what you can look out for.
Exactly, and let me guess, are like completely different genres? Or
Oh yeah, totally different. Like I hopscotch across so many genres. I can't stay put.
Okay, but what sort of genres? If you could just give a little hint of what sort of genres they're going to be.
Yeah, so I'm working on this one story, Rogue Marketing, which was actually one of my first, another one of my initial comics that I wrote that I'm expanding into a larger one shot. This one is, you could say it's like a crime slash slice of life story, sort of. It's about a guy that's fresh out of college and ends up as like a marketer for basically he ends up working at like a super villain marketing company, and so he has to navigate that stuff. It's gonna be a while before that book comes out, but that's kind of something else that's probably the next thing I put out.
Nice. Yeah, that's the thing about you. You've got all these different genres and different styles that you're bringing forward, and not sticking to the one, I guess the one thing you're comfortable with.
I find it impressive when people can stay with one genre. I just go with whatever idea I have, honestly.
Yeah, no, that's great.
My stuff just kind of hopscotches. But I love when people like, nope, I just write crime, or nope, I just write horror. Like, I wish I kind of had that kind of specialty, but I just go with, again, the ideas.
Yeah, go with the ideas that are in your head, right?
Yeah.
No, that's great. Because that's the thing. You just don't want, I fall into that trap myself, have ideas in my head and just stays there. You need to bring it out.
Yeah, and that's always the tough part, and that's why I love crowdfunding so much. Is that I mean, as you know, making comics is expensive, and if you can find people that say, "Hey, that idea looks kind of interesting," and want to pay for it, or pre-order it and kind of bring it to fruition, that helps so much. Because yeah, there's so many ideas, but there's only so many funds to get them created.
Yes. And if there's someone listening at the moment that do have ideas in their head, what would be the best piece of advice you'd give them?
I would say either see if you can break that idea into something smaller so that you can actually get it done. Because yes, getting something done is the most important thing. Don't try to make that perfect story. Especially if in the beginning of your creative career, just make something. So another thing I would say is, if you don't necessarily want to do that smaller thing, then you can at least find ways to make those ideas tangible. So don't just keep them as ideas. Slowly turn them into a script, and then find a collaborator of some sort, and peers that can help you facilitate creation, for sure, is what I would say.
Yes. And Headcases #1 does come out on the 21st of June through Crowdfunder. That's CROWDFUNDR. What is it you're most passionate about when you see in this come to fruition? What would be your, I guess, having a physical copy in your hand, how would that feel?
That's gonna feel surreal. I mean, I have had physical copies of my mini comics. I've put out a couple of mini comics in the past, but this one and Savage Wizard, that's gonna feel like as close as giving birth to a kid as possible. I can't wait to hold those books in my hands, and then also for the backers to hold in my hands. I really just want to get those books out into the world and hopefully have people enjoy them for sure.
Yeah, because I mean that's a dream for any creator, right? Having the physical copy in their hand.
Yeah.
And just tell us a bit about the pledges that people put forward. What are some of the goodies you're going to be throwing in? Can you throw any hints of that?
So actually we were running like a very like straightforward campaign just to keep things uncomplicated. Like all we're giving out is the book. One of the, I would say, only perks that there's going to be I think a couple slots for getting drawn into the comic. So that's one of the perks that will be in the book, other than the physical book.
I do like that because it is very simple, right? Because you just hold off one or two panels and hey, hold on a minute, let's just get a face of the people that have pledged the most. I think that's great. I think that's it. I think if I were someone pledging and had that done, that would be a real honor. And was this a collaborative effort, like between you and the artist, or where did that idea come about?
Yeah, I had done it for a previous campaign for Savage Wizard, and I was like, "Hey, that'd be a good thing to try again." And I reached out to the artist, and they said, "Yeah, why not?" And so, we're gonna do it again. It's something that people seem to like, so I said, why not give that a shot once again?"
Yes, I mean, look, this looks like a real amazing book. I think anyone who's really into the horror slash, I guess you could almost say it's almost like, because you got a few teenagers in there. It's like a teenage angst book as well.
We definitely there is an intentional reason for kind of using younger protagonists. We wanted to not necessarily have them. What's the word I can use? We wanted to do something, even though it's a crime book, kind of have these guys that are vulnerable in a different way than older protagonists would be. So I think you'll definitely see that once you read the book.
Yes, and I think their reactions to everything will be different. To say, like my reaction,
right?
But I think it'll be fun to see the teenagers' reaction, because teenagers think they've seen it all, right? They think they've seen everything until they see something like this and they realize, well, I haven't seen everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you could say that's definitely why they get into the mess that they are in, is because of that short-sighted thinking that comes along with that age, as we all know all too familiarly.
Yeah, and unfortunately they haven't. But I don't know. I think that'll be funny and scary at the same time.
Yes,
and I think
that's
the direction you were going. Yeah, love it, absolutely love it. And so, I want to ask a bit about you.
Yeah, totally.
Leslie. So, what music do you listen to when you create your stories?
It really depends on the story itself. I think for this one, it's kind of based on kind of the turn of the millennium. And that doesn't come up a lot, but it's like basically like 1999, like 2000 era. So I was listening to like a lot of like hip hop. Like, I mean, I can only listen to like stuff that doesn't have lyrics anyway, but like a lot of like like kind of music of that era for sure is what we're listening to for this specific comic. But for like Savage Wizard, I was listening to like a lot of heavy metal or like hair metal stuff, just because again, like that's a vibe that you get with this shirtless barbarian guy, chopping people's heads off and that kind of thing. So whatever the comic I'm writing, I kind of lean towards genre that fits the comic, also musical genre. I mean,
and definitely. And I mean, what are you watching at the moment? What's on your playlist to things to watch?
Right now, I'm rewatching Stranger Things because I can't remember anything. So I'm rewatching so I can start the fourth season. Other than that, I actually watch a lot of trashy reality TV with my wife, which is my favorite, honestly.
Because you're like, thank God my life is not like that. Is that
Yeah,
what you're
yeah, no,
thinking?
that's seriously, yeah. I think that's why a lot of people watch it, right? It's like it just makes you feel better about yourself and about your life in general.
Exactly.
It's like, wow, I'm not that bad, or my life doesn't suck that. I mean, look at these guys. Like, what are they doing?
Nice. And you mentioned before that you have some new projects in the pipeline.
Mhm.
What sort of time frame would these come to fruition? Do you think will we be seeing more of you in the future? Where like what sort of time frame are we looking at?
I'm hoping to. I've already written rogue marketing, but it's such a mess. It definitely has to be edited down, and I have to look for artists and stuff. But I'm hoping I'm hoping next year that there will be some new stuff out for me for sure. Whether it's going to be Kickstarter or hopefully maybe some traction with some publishers. You'll definitely see some stuff from me next year.
No, it would be awesome. And look, please, any projects that you have coming forward, reach out to us here at Think Indie Pod because we'd love to, to showcase and have you on the show again. It would be amazing.
That'd be great. Thanks so much, Dodgy.
Hey, you're most welcome.
Hopefully my camera works the next time around.
Well, I mean, at least the audio is working. That's the most important thing. We can still see your beautiful face, so don't worry about that. But look, guys, just reach out to or please check out Crowdfunder, the CRWFUNDR, and just search Headcases #1. It is coming out June 1st until July. So June 21st.
Mm-hmm.
Until July 21st. It's ready for a month. That's a good time. That's a really good time frame.
Yep.
Yeah. So please check it out and just pledge. What's the minimum pledge that someone can get a digital copy?
Digital copies will be starting at $6.
Woof. That's really good.
Yeah, we definitely try to keep things as affordable as possible with obviously keeping production costs in mind. But yeah, we definitely sometimes you'll see a book like $20 digital. It's like, oh, I guess I'm not getting this one. So yeah, we definitely try to keep that in mind as much as possible.
Because someone for me, because I got to pay for shipping, and I think it's great to have a digital copy because my iPad's now my new book, my new Kindle. So
same.
Yeah, so I can read everything, and it's amazing. You're getting the same quality. It's just because of digital doesn't make it inferior at all.
No, I love digital. I've definitely been going more and more digital. I mean, I know about you, but shelf space is always an issue. So for me, I love being able to just have everything in the cloud and not taking up any more room on my house. So yeah, digital is one of the best things for sure, especially as you know, being in the UK. But things can be expensive to be shipped. So
no doubt. All right, guys. Yes, thank you everyone for watching. And just remember to check out Crowdfunder Headcases #1 by Lesly Julien. Thank you, Leslie, for joining me, and see you all next time.
Thanks for having me. I would be waving, but you can imagine it. Thanks, everybody.
It's a bit of a challenge, yes, but thank you overall.
No.
Thank you. We hope you've enjoyed this Comic Crusaders production. For real-time news on all things pop culture, please feel free to follow us on social media. For articles, original content, merchandise, and more, please go to www.comiccrusaders.com. Also follow along with all of the websites of the Comic Crusaders family. As always, if you like this content, please click like and subscribe to the Comic Crusaders YouTube channel.